This video is brought to you by Skillshare. Today, the Italian Prime Minister and French President have a falling out. South Africa forms a landmark new government, and Benjamin Netanyahu dissolves the Israeli war cabinet. From TLDR News, this is your daily briefing for Monday the 17th of June, 2024. French President Emmanuel Macron and Italy's Giorgia Meloni traded harsh barbs at this year's G7 summit. In a video that's now gone viral, Meloni appeared to recoil when the French president kissed her hand as he arrived at a Swabian castle in Brindisi. So why exactly have the two fallen out? Well, Meloni accused the French president of using the G7 forum for electioneering, whilst Macron criticised Meloni for reportedly watering down language on abortion rights in the draft statement. Meloni's position on fundamental rights has been a source of tension between the two leaders since the Italian Prime Minister came to power. Macron told reporters that he regretted Meloni's request to remove the reference to safe and legal abortion in the G7's final statement. Speaking to Italian journalists, Macron pointed out that Italy does not have the same sensibilities as France. It's also been reported that Meloni also received pushback from US President Joe Biden over the issue. But Meloni denied that Italy is hesitant on defending abortion rights, arguing that the omission of references to abortion was completely normal and an attempt to stop the document becoming too repetitive. The Italian government also denied reports that Italy pushed to withdraw language on LGBTQ+ rights from the conclusions of the summit, which was also attended by Pope Francis. Meloni's brother-in-law and current agriculture minister questioned whether it was appropriate to mention abortion within the presence of the Pope. Talking to the Italian media on Thursday evening, Meloni returned to Macron's critiques, saying she believes it's profoundly wrong, in difficult times like this, to campaign using what she described as a precious forum like the G7 for the upcoming French elections. Aside from abortion, diplomatic sources have reported that the two have also fallen out over the $50 billion loan for Ukraine. Apparently, the loan was announced by France before it had been fully confirmed with other member states, to the annoyance of Meloni and Italy. Now, tensions between Macron and Meloni are nothing new. The two have clashed on a number of topics, ranging from managing migration flows to Meloni's exclusion from Franco-German initiatives on Ukraine. They clashed back in February, when Macron skipped a G7 video conference organised by Meloni on the second anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, instead attending France's biggest agriculture show amid farmers' protests. There's more on the way, but remember to subscribe and ring the bell for more daily briefing tomorrow. Plus, if you want to support the channel like KeyJMC, then consider joining the new TLDR membership programme for just $1.99. On Friday, South Africa's parliament re-elected Cyril Ramaphosa as the country's president in a landmark vote that, while keeping the ANC in power, marks the beginning of a new era in South Africa's politics. In elections last month, the African National Congress Party, or ANC, lost its parliamentary majority for the first time since it came to power 30 years ago, following the end of the apartheid regime. This result forced the ANC to seek partners in opposition parties that would enable them to keep governing. After weeks of speculation ahead of Friday's key vote, the ANC struck a deal with the main opposition Democratic Alliance, or DA, to form a government of national unity, also including two smaller opposition parties. The coalition between the ANC and DA is unprecedented, not least because the two parties have been rivals for decades, so the DA party leader described the deal as a new chapter in our history. Given the DA's liberal-centrist pro-business credentials, the coalition may well be welcomed by the business sector and boost investment sentiment. But it risks alienating the ANC's powerful left wing, which may have preferred to go into coalition with opposition parties like the EFF and MK, who advocate nationalisation of things like banks and mines, as well as expropriation of white-owned land. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has disbanded the country's war cabinet, the small decision-making body that has been managing the military offensives against Hamas and Hezbollah since October the 11th last year. The shuttering of the war cabinet does not come as a surprise, as just over a week ago, one of the cabinet's three members, National Unity Party leader Benny Gantz, quit Netanyahu's emergency government. Since then, far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir had been lobbying to fill Gantz's vacant position in the war cabinet. However, an official from the Prime Minister's office said that now the emergency unity government had collapsed, the war cabinet that had been established as part of that arrangement was no longer relevant. According to the Times of Israel, war-related decision-making would be carried out by Netanyahu and Defence Minister Yoav Gallant through small ad hoc consultations with other relevant officials, while seeking final approval from the wider security cabinet. Meanwhile, anti-government protesters have blocked a number of key highways, and a protest will also be held at the Knesset and the Prime Minister's residence this evening, with organisers seeking a week of disruption, demanding a hostage deal and early elections to be held before the anniversary of October the 7th. NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg says the North Atlantic Alliance is in talks to deploy more nuclear weapons amid a growing threat from Russia and China. Stoltenberg told The Telegraph that member states were discussing taking missiles out of storage and placing them on standby to use transparency around their nuclear arsenals as a deterrent. He said transparency helps to communicate the direct message that we, of course, are a nuclear alliance, and that I won't go into operational details about how many nuclear warheads should be operational and which should be stored, but we need to consult on these issues, and that's exactly what we're doing. It comes after Stoltenberg last week said that nuclear weapons were NATO's ultimate security guarantee. Russia fairly regularly engages in nuclear saber-rattling and has warned that it could resort to nuclear weapons if necessary. Meanwhile, Stoltenberg also pointed to China's boosting of its nuclear arsenal as a potential threat. In the face of this, Stoltenberg insisted that the US and its European allies are modernising their own nuclear deterrence, while maintaining that NATO's aim is a world without nuclear weapons, but as long as nuclear weapons exist, we will remain a nuclear alliance. And finally, in some uplifting news, Ottawa Food Bank has received a record-breaking one-day donation of food, surpassing a record of 63 tonnes set in 2013, with a donation of nearly 95 tonnes on June the 15th. The one-day donation drive was led by students from 6 different schools and the aid charity of Khalsa Aid Canada. The donated food will support over 100 agencies that the food bank works with, according to its CEO, who, though, highlighted the need for long-term solutions. She said, "More food is wonderful, but it's really not the solution. So, while we're incredibly grateful, we're really pushing and hope that government will start to make changes." A week or so ago, we announced that we're working on a physical magazine which dives deep into the upcoming UK general election. But it turns out that designing a magazine isn't all that easy. So we headed to Skillshare to take a look through some of their design courses. Unlike when we tried to learn InDesign for another, never-released project a few years ago, we were guided through the process quickly and efficiently. And this time, the project will actually see the light of day thanks to Skillshare's incredibly easy-to-follow guides. It's not just that either. You likely already know that Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives, with thousands of classes led by industry experts from across film, illustration, design, freelance and productivity. But Skillshare can also help you take your career or side hustles to the next level, with hundreds of career-focused classes. That's courses on everything from how to start a business to maximizing your workflow, or how to grow in e-commerce. Another course we used when building the website for the magazine. The best news is that the first 500 people to use the link in the description will receive 1 month free trial of Skillshare. So get started today.